Before you could put into words or even answer the question, who am I? Your brain had already begun forming an answer. And this didn't happen through your own words. It did not happen through your own logic. But it happened in the way that you least expected it to. It occurred through the early relationships that you formed when you were a child. Now, if I were to rewind just a little bit, it would be, more specifically, the early relationships that you had when you were just a baby. Hey guys, welcome again to another episode on the Sozo Room. Here we believe that God cares about your spirit, your mind, your body, and your story. On the last episode, we looked at relationships and the kind of relationship that Adam and Eve had with the Father before the fall. We saw that they moved in wholeness and they succeeded and prospered in all things. They walked in purpose. And I would even go as far as saying that they were perfect. After God created all things that we know to be and what we know to exist, He called it good. Today, we are going to talk about relationships, but not in the way that you think. We're going to focus on the early relationships that you had that are in some way still shaping the way that you view yourself. Because truly, some of the beliefs that you carry were never consciously chosen, but they were formed in the moments when your mind was just simply trying to survive. The question, who am I, is an ancient one. And for many of you, it is still a question that you are working towards answering, even as an adult. And that's okay. We are humans and we are constantly evolving. We are constantly redefining ourselves, how we look, and even our purpose. Having a purpose is motivating. It is encouraging, and something about it gives you that grit and drive to just face life obstacles. Without it, personally, I probably would not have been doing the Sozo Room or even be a therapist right now. But before I fully understood God's love for me, what kept me going was His constant reminder of the intentions and plans that He had for me. But I'll tell you what that reminder did not do. Knowing who God had called me to be did not automatically undo the self-defeating mindset or framework that I formed growing up as a child. When God begins to highlight or give you a glimpse of where He is calling you to be or where He's taking you, oftentimes we find the past starting to speak. And it's not in an external or audible way, but it shows up in old beliefs, old wounds, and old experiences, and they continue to challenge what God is revealing to you about your future. They often and constantly put you in a space where you question the validity of God's statement and plan for your life. Even though we know Jeremiah 29:11, like at the back of our hands, where it says that God has a plan and intention for you to prosper you, not to harm you, but to give you hope and a future, we still find that it's difficult to hold on to those words. It constantly feels like it's slipping away. And then it becomes a battle. And depending on the outcome of that battle, you may find yourself victorious or sitting in despair and hopelessness. When I tell you that mental warfare, mind warfare is a real thing, it is a real thing. Sometimes it feels like your brain is splitting at cellular levels. And all of this is accompanied by severe levels of confusion and a hint of, I feel like I'm going crazy right now. And what's happening at that point is, it's like your mind is incapable of processing God's truth because there's another kind of truth that is taking up that space. Now, I am aware that I have two categories of listeners. Those whom the Lord has already spoken about their future and those who are still discovering it. But we all arrive at this particular place when we take a deeper look at the question, who am I? Especially when we think about purpose and where God is taking us. it often highlights deeper struggles, deep-seated low self-esteem, struggles with your identity. A lot of us started off in a place where we could not see ourselves as a child of God or even accept the fact that God adopted us into his family. A lot of us found it very difficult to find community because we have this underlying belief that we don't belong. There's a lot of uncertainty about your value, and that often leads to people pleasing. And let's just even talk about the exhaustion that comes with trying to prove to your friends and family that you are worth it. These deep struggles now become a matter of the heart and mind, asking, am I loved? Do I belong? And do I matter? And many times, these questions often reflect internal frameworks that did not begin in adulthood, but rather in our earliest stages, long before we had language or the ability to speak and explain what was happening on the inside of us. In other words, attachment relationships are where those questions first start getting answered. When I talk about the early relationships, it's those that you had when you were a baby. Now, I love babies. Every child is a gift from God. In the infant stage, it is a very critical stage for human development. I often refer to it as a canvas stage because every relationship a baby experiences and every environment that they enter, it's like I want you to imagine a brushstroke being added to that canvas. And eventually we see that slowly shaping into the picture that person will eventually grow into. And the important thing to understand is that many of these brushstrokes are being added before we are even able or capable of forming memories or thought. But just because we don't remember those memories, it doesn't mean that it didn't leave an imprint. And the wonderful thing about having a God that is all-knowing and sees everything is that he is aware of all of the things that we encountered long before we had the ability to remember them. The old mamas would say, when the babies cry, don't pick them up. Let them cry because you don't want them to be clingy or spoiled. It might seem like you're trying to train this child in the right direction, but in all honesty, this is not beneficial in any way. A baby's cry is not manipulation, it is communication. It is the only language that they have before they can form words. So if they're hungry, they're gonna cry. If they need you to come and give them some attention, they're gonna cry. If they're feeling any kind of discomfort, they're gonna cry. Like everything is gonna have a cry. And sadly, I've heard stories about fathers beating babies even before they are 7 months old, saying that they need to learn a lesson. Like, excuse me, what lesson? What lesson could that possibly be? Fathers or any parent who does this, they are breaking your child and they're teaching that child that having wants and desires gets you punished, and their voice is not safe to use. So as an adult, they begin to feel guilty for prioritizing themselves, and they will shut down in moments when they need to stand up or exercise self-assertiveness. The way in which you respond to children can make or break them, and that becomes a blueprint of their minds and nervous system. Babies are biologically designed to seek closeness with caregivers because at that stage, connection means a lot of things. Survival. It becomes the foundation for a stable sense of identity. And this is why nurses often encourage parents to hold their babies, respond to their cries. Not only that, it gives you the ability to understand what the cries mean, but you keep them close, and that closeness helps them regulate. So they learn that you are a safe person, that the world is safe. They are cared for, people can be trusted, they are not alone in this big world, and their needs matter. And when you put all of this together, like I said, you can build a stable sense of self and identity into a newborn. But when the opposite happens, that is being inconsistent, absent, frightening, rejecting, being in an environment that is completely dysfunctional, that baby learns that it is not safe. People cannot be trusted, and their needs don't matter. This is why attachment, or I would reframe it and say, parent-child relationship is not just emotional. It is neurological and relational. In this episode, we won't get into how our bodies respond to all of these things. What I really want to focus is its impact on your core beliefs, your mindset, the underlying principles that you have guiding your life, but you are not aware. The core beliefs you hold are often the lens that you use to interpret life, relationships, and your relationship with God. So how does early relationship and core belief come together? Well, I have an answer for you. In your early days, your mind was constantly observing and drawing conclusions from how your parents responded to you. And over time, that brain began to form assumptions, and we've gone through a number of them. Am I safe? Do I matter? Can people be trusted? Is it okay for me to have needs? And gradually, these early assumptions then slowly develop into core beliefs. These beliefs continue to develop throughout the rest of your life. Whatever you experience with your friends, school, work environments, romantic relationships, or even a church environment, all of these relationships can reinforce and challenge what was formed earlier on. But the good news is that core beliefs are not permanent. They can be examined, challenged, and changed. Okay? I'm going to repeat that. They can be examined, challenged, and changed. We use core beliefs to make sense of the experiences that we continue to have. And because these beliefs operate quietly beneath the surface, they often feel like facts. But healing begins when we start to recognize the beliefs we've been living by and begin replacing what was formed in survival with what is actually true. When clients say things like, I'm incapable, I'm not important, I won't go anywhere in life, I take these thoughts and I make them visible. I write them out on a whiteboard because I love using whiteboards whenever we're in therapy. And we move into investigating what life experiences created those beliefs. This is a process of examining, challenging, and changing the thoughts. And when I say change, I'm talking replacing these thoughts with God's truth. We have to challenge them. Nothing, and I mean nothing, should challenge what God has written about you. The Bible tells us in Romans 12:2 that we should not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of our minds. Our minds is a powerful thing. How you think affects how you feel, and how you feel affects how you behave. And this entire thing is a cycle. We have a lot carrying. And sometimes we choose to accept the beliefs that are contrary to God's will for us because we already accept them as facts, as truth. And I'm not saying it's an easy journey to renew your thoughts and beliefs, but it is doable. But before I close, I want to leave you with a thought. For most of our lives, we spend it trying to fix behaviors, change circumstances, and push ourselves harder without even stopping to ask, what beliefs have been quietly shaping the way I see myself? Some of the struggles that you experienced or are experiencing as an adult are not random. So the most important thing that you can do right now is just simply slow down and take some time and ask, where did I learn to believe this about myself? Sometimes I would reframe that question with my client saying, who is speaking? Who told you that? What voice or what relationship is associated with this thought? Once a belief is brought into the light, it no longer has the same power to quietly direct your life. Now you become aware. That awareness opens the door for change, and that's what we want. And then healing begins when you start being curious about your story, about your beliefs, rather than being ashamed of it or holding on to it. So for this week, just take some time, pen and paper, and begin to write down some of those core beliefs that has been quietly driving your life. Focus on those that have been contrary to the Word of God, and examine, challenge, and change them. I want to share a small update with you about the Sozo Room. Up until now, episodes were released monthly, but I'm excited to announce that we are moving to weekly episodes. This means we'll have more time and opportunities to dive deeper into conversations about healing, the mind, relationships, faith, and the journey towards wholeness. There are so many topics that I want to explore with you. Things that sit in the intersection of psychology, faith, trauma, identity, and restoration. And I believe this is going to be good. So if you're listening and finding these discussions helpful, make sure you're following or subscribed so you don't miss the next episode. I'm really looking forward to continuing this journey with you. And as always, thank you for spending time with me in the Sozo Room.